Let's cross over to Borno State now. We have our correspondent, Blessing Turnout. Blessing did this a bit earlier. She gave us this update a bit earlier.
Well, things are very slow in polling units around Maiduguri today. We visited quite a number of them, and we have observed that very few voters have turned out to cast their votes, and the difference is very clear from what we saw during the presidential election when at about this time there were long queues of voters, men and women, and even out there on the street because of the restriction of vehicular movement. We saw people, in their numbers walking long distances to get to their polling units. But then the opposite is what we are seeing today, and there's a bit of what seems to be like voter apathy. But then it might be too early to conclude about that since we don't know what could happen later. But then we'll keep going around to see if things actually change. We are here in Gwenge 3 in one of the polling units, and then we've been talking to people here, and they say what is going on right now is they are calling their friends on phone. They are going to knock on the doors of their neighbors, encouraging them to come out and cast their votes. Now for the security situation, things are quiet this morning in Maiduguri. There are security personnel scattered all over the capital city in polling units, on the streets, to ensure that nothing untoward happens. But then it is not the same in some towns outside Maiduguri like Jere and Mafa local government, where we've experienced a number of attacks and encounters between the insurgents and our military authorities. But then because of that, we shall be limiting our coverage to Maiduguri.
The security personnel are doing their work okay. It is vigilant. They are now obeying the ideal situation. They are trying to calm people. They are talking to people in a more dignified way. And the INEC people, that they are forthcoming this time, and are forthcoming in the sense that today you can see they were at their polling unit as early as 7:30 to 8. That I can attest. I just tell you, they are good to go. So all we are hoping now is for the voters to come out en masse to cast their vote and go home judiciously. That's what we are expecting as of now.
So we'll keep going around to see how things will span out in the polling units here within Maiduguri, and we shall keep you posted.
Our correspondent Blessing Turnout in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital. But staying with our reporters spread around and the updates they're bringing in, we're joined Hajara Aliyu, who is in Bauchi, for her update. Hajara.
Voting has been concluded in this polling unit I'm at right now. What is taking place at the background is the counting. Voting started here as early as 8 a.m. But this polling unit, that is Nasira in Kangere Ward, in Bauchi State, witnessed low turnout of voters, just like we saw in other polling units we visited across the state. Over 700 ballot papers were brought here, but over 400 were struck out because people did not vote on them. Before 2 p.m., that's the closing time of voting, there was nobody on the queue to vote. But we actually saw strict adherence to the electoral laws here. The electoral officials actually waited to 2 p.m. before they began sorting and counting. And everything has been transparent. Interestingly, here in this village too, the elders, and including the district head, came out with their mats and sat meters away from the polling units to observe the process. Even the youths are also here. After voting, most of them did not go back home. They waited to see how everything plays out. They have vowed to follow their votes up to the ward levels. So far, everything has been calm and peaceful. From Nazira village in Bauchi, I am Hajara Aliyu for Channels Television.
Thank you very much, Hajara. Pleasant to hear that things are going on peacefully in that part of the country. That's the northeast, eastern part of the country, of course. We also heard from Maiduguri, and now we're going to the southeast and to Eitokwe Kutei, who is in Owerri, the Imo State capital. Eitokwe.
We are at Azuzi Ward 4 in Owerri Municipal Council, and this ward is one of the biggest wards in Owerri Municipal Council with about 7 polling units. But as of this time, election is expected to commence at 8 o'clock, but an hour past that time, electorates are still waiting to cast their votes, start accreditation and cast their votes, as they're still waiting for electoral officials to arrive. I'm going to be speaking to some voters here. What time did you arrive here?
I arrived here by 7:30.
Okay. So what's the situation now?
The situation on ground is we're waiting for the materials to come and the INEC ad hoc workers to come so that we can continue like we did last 2 weeks ago.
So what are your concerns now? Even as of now, the electoral officials are not here. What are your concerns?
My concern is I have to be here as well, and all the electors are here to wait for them to come peacefully like the way we did. Even if they come here by 10, 11, we must comment and exercise our civic right.
We just hope that the calm nature of this place is going to be more peaceful and turnouts are going to be much, because I think when we came up from Njiman's side, well, it was quite so bad that we saw a market going on there and we asked why, and they said they were not interested in voting because their votes don't count. So what is the need of them coming out to vote when they vote and their votes don't count? It's being burnt, and so it's better they go on with the market selling.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, as we continue to wait for the arrival of electoral officials, we will continue to keep you up to speed with events around here during the elections. From Owerri, the Imo State capital, Eyitokwa Kutai, reporting for Channels Television News.
Thanks, Tokbai. Of course, Tokbai did that a bit earlier, as at that time he was waiting for those officials to make themselves available so the process could get underway. Now let's come home now. Home by, I mean Lagos State. Let's go to the Amuwo-Odofin area. We have our correspondent, Austin Okonakwan, over there. Austin.
Guys, we've made some progress in Amuwo-Odofin local government area of Lagos State. The non-payment of ad hoc staff issue has been resolved, and so voting is ongoing at some major polling units in the area. But it's been some issues here and there. In Festac Town, for instance, some voters complained that the card reader, again, couldn't validate them for the exercise. There's also been some low voter turnout at some polling units. I spoke to some of the people in the area, and they complained that they came out to vote. INEC wasn't on ground, and so some of the voters went back home. Right now, we're at polling unit 022 in Mautu Estate, and it seemed to be going fine at this polling unit. The voters waited for INEC officials to come. They came up at about 11:30 a.m., got the exercise underway, and everything is going smoothly. In Amuwo-Odofin, Austin Okonakwan, Channels Television News.
All right, great to see that voting has started.
Yes, because earlier on, Austin, they did reported that they were still waiting.
That's right.
But now he's gone back, and that voting has in fact started. But one thing seems to run through, with the exception of one or two of the areas, especially in the northern parts. Some of the other areas, voting undoubtedly started a bit later than anticipated, and one would wonder what kind of impact that could have on the eventual turnout.
I'm not sure if there's been any announcement to extend voting, or are we just taking it for granted?
No, we're just, I mean, well, again, one doesn't know whether you actually say it's taken for granted. I remember the INEC chairman saying something like, any area where voting did not start at 8 o'clock, that whatever amount of time was lost will be added to it when they start.
So what I mean is, I'm assuming they will all add it in their individual places.
Yeah, so where they start at 3 o'clock, one would expect that they add the requisite number of hours, which is, I think, 6 hours to it, which means that it goes on until about 9 in the evening, which, of course, brings about some new challenges. But then we'll keep eyes on those, and we'll keep you updated as we go on. But for now, we'll take this break, and then we'll be back. Please stay with us.